seating table 104 with Billy Reilich.
Welcome to the chaos.
Yo, what up, everybody? We're back on the chaos, and today we have a fan favorite on.
Terrible opening.
No, it's not. I haven't even fucking got to the rest of it yet. This is Billy Reilich. He looks like Thor, but he's a lot bigger. Killing it. He's actually got one of the biggest hearts out of anybody I know and is one of the kindest people around and has been a staple in the industry. And he's got a crazy story, different than anybody else we've had on so far. Coming from Ohio to LA with reality shows, The Abbey, The Ellen Show, and a bunch of other things in between. What up, Billy?
Hi, y'all.
What up, Billy? Good to have you, man.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, very different story, maybe. Being from Ohio, very conservative background, and then moving out and working in the biggest gay bar in the world for 6 years. Yeah, ready to take this on.
Tell us a little about how you got into it, because you didn't start when in LA. You've been out here for like 6-7 years now, but you actually got your start in nightlife back in Ohio.
Yeah, so I moved out here in 2014. While I was in college, I went to school around Columbus, and they have a very big gay scene. And one of the guys at my university was just like, man, you got to go down to Columbus and just make money. I was like, okay, cool, yeah. And he like put me in contact with one of the bar owners. And I went down, and he was like, you would be a great bar or shop boy. I was like, sounds kind of demeaning, but all right, like I'll give it a shot, you know. And,
how old are you at this point?
20.
Okay.
And that became like my thing. And Friday, Saturday nights, I would leave instead of partying with my fraternity. I'd leave school and I'd go down and I'd make $200-300 a night just selling shots, walking around the bar with my shirt off. And it was very strange to come from this like very Midwestern, very, like hush hush about your sexuality type thing. And like in my eyes, I was like, oh, I'm completely straight. Like this is uncomfortable. I wanted to keep the worlds very separate. So like all the people that I met there just knew me as the shop boy or Bill, you know, like, but I didn't let anybody into my world. And so keeping those worlds kind of different, like, messed me up mentally, like a lot. Like later on down the road, like people friending me on Facebook, I wasn't comfortable with them knowing like who my family were and stuff like that. And it kind of burned a lot of bridges with a lot of people because I was trying to keep those worlds separate. It was kind of weird. Yeah,
I can imagine being those small towns. I'm from New Orleans, and when you said shop boy, like I immediately all these memories, not shop boys, but the shop girls.
Yeah,
on Bourbon Street.
Exact same thing. Yeah.
And, but yeah, you said that the worlds, you were keeping them apart. So it was actually kind of good training for when you got to LA because...
Very true. Right? Yeah. And a lot of people you meet out in nightlife, especially, are just out to network. You know, they just want to meet you. Hey, what do you do? And then if it's not something cool, just I'm out, you know? And it was good training, but it was also kind of a mindset that this is just my work. And when I moved out here and I started meeting people and I was like, I really connect with these people. I have like a very similar views on a lot of stuff with all of these people. Like maybe these are my friends. And it was very tough. And that's honestly why I worked at the Abbey for over 6 years was like, I mean, they have people that have been bartending there for over 20 years. Like people don't leave the Abbey once you work at the Abbey.
Yeah, so for people who listening have never been to LA, the Abbey is the #1 gay bar in the country, but besides that, it's the #1 gross. It's like one of the #1 grossing bars in the country.
In the world, isn't it?
I don't know about the
like
world. But
they have trophies from Uber and Lyft for the most dropped off and picked up spot in the country. Like Lyft paid the city to be able to have like a designated Lyft drop off spot for people. Like this company, it literally is like a staple to LA just because of the fact that most of these corporations that we're talking about will open up a bar and it'll be open for 5-6 months. And then they need to reinvent themselves. So they turn it into something else, you know? Yeah. And the Abbey, more than anything else, they just put money back into the club. So, you know, buying new lights, new speakers, whatever it might be, but they just kind of reinvent themselves through like adding stuff on. And so this place is just, it's growing still, but like, I mean, they have over 300 employees. That, you know, this place is huge,
massive, and it's part of SBE. But before we get into the Abbey, let's talk about your shift from Ohio out here, because one of the funniest things is I've met Billy through our good friend Stevie Brock, who we'll have on the show eventually. But Stevie Brock and Billy and two other friends went viral on the video.
Yeah.
And it's not one of the reasons why he moved out here, but it was a huge push into why he moved out here. Let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah. I was in Indiana coaching college basketball, and Stevie and a couple of our other friends, we had this group where we make like parody rap music, basically. And we made a song about Ellen DeGeneres. We were like, nobody will see it, whatever. We made a music video for it, and we put it up on like a Friday morning, and by like Friday afternoon, we got calls from producers saying like, we want you to come in. And so we spent like a week out here doing like the whole Warner Brothers thing, like the whole nine. It was awesome. Fast forward like 6 months from there, and I was like, man, like I really don't like college basketball. Like the coaching aspect of it is terrible for me. Like just not my life. I was making no money. And Stevie was like, hey, I'm getting a new house. Like we need a roommate if you want to come out. And I just like packed up all my shit. I was like, let's go. While I was driving, I just messaged one of the producers and I said like, hey, I'm out in LA now. Like if you ever need anybody on the show, let me know. And she goes, yeah, send some headshots. Emailed me right back. And I was like, okay, great. And I responded, and she responded before within like 12 hours of me leaving, she goes, yep, we need you in here on Monday. I was like, great. And so I had 48 hours to make the rest of my 30-hour drive. And I was like, all right, like, let's make this happen. I ended up getting in at like 2 a.m. on Sunday morning, and I was on Warner Brothers within 24 hours, like on the lot. I think that first week I did Ellen 4 times. And then it was like...
So what'd you do on Ellen, though?
So they casted me as her gardener, and Nick the gardener was my name. And I basically walked out, and she told a dumb joke, and I ripped my shirt off, and the crowd wooed, and then I walked off stage. And so like I worked like 45 seconds a week, and I'm bringing in, the SAG rate was like $550 a day. And so like on that first week, I'm making like over $2,000 and not understanding like how people are struggling out here. I was like, this is the easiest life in the world, you know?
Some people right now are listening.
That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen.
I lived with a guy that went to Tufts. He was a screen actor major, and had been out here for 9 years, and he had 1 credit as an extra in like CSI Miami or something.
See, that's
like
the
that.
normal story.
Yeah, that's usually how it happens.
But so I move into his house with Stevie, and it's like the 3 of us and another guy, Dan, that just wanted, he just wanted to work at a bar. And I was making insane money within a couple weeks. And I'm like, guys, why is this so hard for you guys? And they're like, trust me, it'll die down. And of course it did, nothing ever goes on forever. And after that second week, when it started like really dying down, I was like, okay, I need like a consistent job. And I was like, because I had worked in gay bars in college, Stevie was like, well, why don't you check out the Abbey? And I was like, I've never even heard of it, And I drove out there and didn't even bring a resume. One of the managers looked me up and down. He was like, what do you want to do? And I was like, anything. And he was like, all right, we'll put you at Shop Boy. And I was like,
oh, here we go again.
Again? And sure enough, I'm training for like a couple days at Shop Boy, and the owner, David, sees me and he was like, why is he a Shop Boy? And I was like, I don't want to be a Shop Boy. And he was like, well, you can be my bottle server, and brings me on as his exclusive bottle server. And so I would see Calvin Klein, Lance Bass. I don't know. Like we had, I don't know, you name it. Honestly, like if you're
David
gay,
is the man.
Like,
David
Cooley,
guy.
But like, yo,
always.
that's wild too, though, because as we know, and for people who don't know what it's like applying to the Abbey, there's like a 10-year wait list.
Oh, yeah.
To work in that place. So like, not only did you did you land Ellen, you also land probably the best and most consistent nightlife job the city has to offer.
Totally. Yeah. And every club has their avenue or whatever it might be, but like come Pride Parade, that entire week, yeah, you're working 12-hour shifts, but you're bringing home $3-4 a night for a week straight. It's just like anything else. Like it gets very addicting because you're like, I'm making money and people are nice to me because they want to be my friend, and everybody's getting, this ego boost of like, oh my God, you look so great. Because I worked with my shirt off there, but like feeling very exclusive of where I am because everybody wants this job, and I have this job that pays amazing.
Yeah. When I said Billy looked like Thor, I wasn't lying. He's he works out a lot. I get to work out with him. It's one of the best things that has ever happened to me. However, I am sore every day. Every fucking day I am sore after working out with this man.
Yeah, and I mean definitely like Billy's he's Thor. He's a gorgeous looking guy. He's ripped up, and LA it's image based.
Yep. Totally.
It's image based. I mean, when he said the manager looked you up and down, like I had that happen to me, and I worked for Dolce Group, and I went in for my interview, and Mauricio, he was the manager, the GM. And he looked me up and down, and my pants were all baggy. And he literally, like, not by the crotch, but by like the thigh area, he grabbed my pants and he's like, "These pants are too saggy." And he's like, "You gotta get the tighter pants if you want to work in Dolce," you know. So I mean, it's so image based. Like, it really messes with you, even if you are an attractive person. Like, you're being judged daily just to get a fucking bartending job or to be a shop boy. You know, it's insane.
So we had a girl on, Jasmine Vo, a few weeks ago that talked to us about the body dysmorphia. So I know how you said you like to keep it separate, but you couldn't do that here, keeping your lifestyle separate from everything that was going on. So how did that, like you said, ego-wise and mentally, what did that do to you, trying to hold the facade but then be you as a person? Because Billy's one of like the nicest people I know. So to be in that industry, like, it's tough. So, like, how did you really cope with all that and deal with the facade?
Well, the thing that made it, like, double aggressive was people were seeing me on TV while I'm serving them, you know? And so I'm coming to a table and I'm cleaning up people's chewed bubble gum and, like, wrinkled up napkins and their limes and lemons. And they're like, "Hey, I've seen you on that show, aren't you?" And, you know, and I'm like, yeah. Like, I don't want to talk to you about that, you know? Like, especially like through Ellen, I did the second Magic Mike. And so I fly out, they fly me out first class. I'm sitting, you know, like in this bougie, nice hotel room, like beautiful. And then like I get to go on like a little bit of a tour with Ellen through all this stuff. And so like I'm doing these things that like people are dying to do. And then like at night I go and like tray pass and I'm, you know, I'm cleaning up after people and stuff. So like it's awkward because like a lot of the notoriety comes from my physique. And so like I'd hear it all the time. People would be like, "Oh, you're slimming down. Did you get a roll?" And no, not only did I not get a roll, but I don't want to be slimming down right now. Stop talking about this. You're making me feel bad, you know? And like, I think a lot of people think because I do bodybuilding or because I'm into fitness that like, that's all I want to talk about. And like, I mean, Mike has known me for a long time now. And like, we rarely ever talk about fitness, you know, and it's like you have to be more diverse out here or else you will be typecast as just that one guy that did that one thing, you know, and like nobody ever wants to be that. So yeah, it definitely messes with your head. But being able to separate who at the bar is now my thing. And so like, I'll hold a normal conversation with anybody I don't know. But if I've had a conversation with you and I don't like the way the conversation went, I'm going to associate you as the people that I don't want to talk to. And so, you know, I'll do my best to treat everybody equally. But like, if you're an asshole, you're an asshole, you know, like being able to separate that is the big thing.
Yeah. So working at the Abbey, so you were doing the Ellen thing. When the Ellen thing like died down, what were you doing besides the Abbey? Like, what were your
well, that obviously I wanted to be. I was living with a guy. He was a fitness model. He did 50 different fitness model covers for magazines and stuff like that. And like, I was like, all right, this guy's gonna teach me how to do this, you know, and he didn't. He wanted to keep them for himself, which I get, you know, and he's like landing a cover every other week. And I'm like, all right, but the thing that probably only happens really in LA is like the Abbey was trying to pitch their own TV show within like the first year I was there. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. And so E picked up a show. It's called What Happens at the Abbey. And they literally interviewed everyone that works there, over 300 people. And they picked, I think there were 8 of us on the show. And I like begrudgingly I was like, all right, I'll do this interview. And I just sat there and I talked like shit the whole time. Like it was a terrible interview. And the head producer was like, yeah, we want him. I'm like, shit. So,
yo, that happens when you don't want a job.
Yeah.
You'll get it.
Or, well, I think they can read, you know, I need this. I want this, you know, versus like, whatever.
It's just like auditions. I mean, you go in there super desperate, like this is my life. I need.
Yeah.
They smell it. You're
No,
right.
No.
I
Yeah.
booked more auditions when I was hungover coming off a bender because I just didn't give a shit.
Yeah, because you're looser.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm like, all right, I'm here. I want to go back to bed. Let's get this fucking over with.
Yeah.
I'm doing it in one take. That's it.
Right.
And it works out more often than not.
It does.
And so we filmed this reality show. We did 8 weeks of it, and it was paying like $2,000 a week or something like that. But like, you know, we lived in our houses. Like I didn't have to work. So like I would show up to work and I'd get paid to be at work. Plus I'm getting paid through E just to film. And so, you know, they'd supply us with meals and they'd have crafty and everything like that. So we're treated kind of like royalty at work, which was equally weird because now our coworkers are like, oh, these people think they're so special. And I'm like, I don't want to be here. Like, I'm just getting paid, you know, like, so that was tough, but that kind of became my life. And like, for a while, it was like, all right, I'm going to be a reality star now. This is going to be my new world. And like, hated that. So
How many reality shows did you do?
I did the Abbey and then I did MTV's show X on the Beach. And I just did that. That was a little over 2 years ago. That was a very different life. You live in a house for a month with a bunch of strangers. So there's 10 of us. And then throughout the month, they bring in exes to live in the house with you. So like when you get signed up on the show, you have to write your name and then a list of your ex relationships. And that was kind of like my coming out as not being straight. And so I listed a bunch of females, a bunch of men, a bunch of trans women. And
They were probably like, "This is gold."
yeah. And so I didn't know this, but the casting producer said, or was told, and she told me later on, that MTV said, get Billy to set and we'll win an Emmy, which we didn't. I cried like mostly the entire show and it was terrible, but, like they really wanted me there. So like finding that out, we could have like, you know, pay me more MTV, but,
Right.
all things considered,
I
go
mean,
ahead.
if you don't mind, like, what was that like coming out on a show? 'Cause, bro, that's a.
Well,
I applaud you for that, man. That's a huge.
my big thing was
Huge
like
thing.
coming out to my family. And so like nobody knew. Like I came out to Stevie like a month before, my roommate. I came out to Stevie like a month before I left.
Yeah.
Like I found out and I was like, oh, well, Stevie's going to find out about this. I got to talk to him pronto. I was like, we're going to Buffalo Wild Wings, bro.
Yeah.
We're like chomping away. I was like, by the way, I'm gay. And he's like, what?
And you and Stevie have been friends for how long?
We've been friends since 3rd grade.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, and like, you know, living with him, I was having people over. I'm like sneaking them in at night and shit. And like, I'm sure he probably heard some stuff, but like, whatever. But then, so coming from Ohio, like before I left for the show, I told my family like, hey, I got the show. I'm leaving soon. I'm coming home. And I was home for 48 hours before I left. And, I have 3 brothers, one older brother and my younger brothers are twins. And all good old boys, you know, they work on cars and shoot guns and, you know, they all have girlfriends or wives and I live in LA, you know? And so to come home, I was like, all right, I planned out how to talk to my mom, planned out how to talk to each of my brothers. And I was like, I don't know how to fucking talk to my dad. And I ended up putting off talking to my dad. Like after the show, we went on a cruise through Europe. I went with my dad and I was like, oh, I'll talk to him while I'm in Europe. And one of my brothers proposed to his girlfriend. And I was like, maybe not the chance to tell him. You know, and then waited. And my mom the entire time, she's like, you need to tell him. Like, you should tell him. And I just kept putting it off. Finally, they put out trailers for the show. And I sent one to my dad and I was like, let me know what you think. And he goes, you look great. Like, I'm so excited to watch this. And I was like, by the way, I FaceTimed with him. I was like, by the way, this is going to be more about like me dating like guys and trans women as well. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, and he said some like real weird shit that like hit really hard and actually like separated us for a while. And, he passed the phone off to his wife and she was just like, you know, he's going through a lot right now. And was just like, we'll talk to you later. And I was like, all right, whatever. And they never watched the show. Like, so that was kind of tough for me. But since he and I have gotten along really well. I think had he watched the show, he probably wouldn't have come back around. But yeah,
It's great.
That's wild.
I mean, you're like on top of the world, and people think you have everything. Right?
Yeah.
In other people's views outside,
Oh, yeah.
looking in,
Killing
they're like,
it.
"Oh, he's
Yeah.
killing it," but inside, you're like, "This shit just happened with your dad."
yeah.
It's like people don't think about
think
the
about
other
that.
side. That's why what we talk about nightlife, like, oh, those people are having a fucking amazing time, making thousands of dollars a night. But then we go home and we're still people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're still human beings
Yeah.
suffering.
And we're judging ourselves constantly.
Right.
On like what's going on, what we're doing. And like, I can't tell you how many mornings I'd wake up after working, like questioning, like, what the fuck am I doing with
Yeah,
my life right now? Like, I can't even get out of bed.
But it's also tough because you're kind of trapped in this. Well, I need the money, and if I want to change my life, I need to make more money. And the only way I can make money right now is by going to work and then being in this terrible mindset when I come home. So it's this terrible like cycle of shit over shit over shit.
Also,
that
whatever
you
other
can't
job,
get away from.
whatever other job you're gonna get is not gonna make anywhere near what you're making at that nightclub.
Yeah.
You were talking about, Pride Week making $2-3 grand a night.
Yeah.
You're pulling in a week what most people would be half of their salary.
But then also you add in your regulars. Like I had a family that would come in, and the first time I waited on her, she paid the bill with her card and then handed me $5 grand in cash. Thank you. I said, oh, it's like that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's exchange numbers. I would love to be your server anytime you come in here. But like it gets to a point where you get comfortable waiting for that, and you kind of get blind to the idea of like, I should be able to do that myself. I shouldn't have to wait on people. Like we talk about our friends that escort, our friends that work in the sex industry. And for me, I don't think I could ever hinge my life on someone else being able to give me money. Like I can work for my money. I'll make it my own. But these girls that we know that literally I'm grinding by having people that pay my bills for me. And like, I don't understand it necessarily. Like, I don't think I could do that, but like, that's another person's like complete grind, like some people look at those girls and say like, well, how can you do that? And then you see them in like Mercedes and they all got Louis Vuitton and they all got red bottoms, like they're set kind of.
People genuinely, that's what they want.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. Like
The persona.
the persona and the money that we get spoiled, right? Like you got spoiled right away. Before you even got to LA, you were spoiled.
Yeah.
So the people that come out here and then maybe they grind, but when I got out here, I said, I'm not working in the service industry again. Cause I'm from New Orleans, Bourbon Street. I worked there forever. And I told myself, I'm not going to the service industry. And I was working odd jobs, like Craigslist jobs, cleaning people's houses.
Really?
Working in like estates. Like I was grinding. I was broke as shit. I was still having a blast, but
Yeah.
But then like finally caught up. I'm like, man, I need to pay rent.
Yeah.
Like I'm barely scratching the surface. And
Yeah.
and then I got into service engineering and fucking 10 years later, I'm still in it because that money blinded me.
Yeah.
So I applaud you for, I don't know, dealing with all that. And so where are you now?
Well, what was it like working at the Abbey? Because I think the Abbey is it's a very special place, but like there's got to be a lot that comes with working there. And like, what was that environment like? 'Cause especially you just kind of coming out. And then I'm sure if you're already a reality star and you've come out and you're working there, there's so many people at that bar that now see you as a target.
Yeah. Well, there's so many different aspects of it, like obviously it's a blast. And like we're talking about, like working at night is so much fun. There are obviously different things that make one night or 2 nights out of the week not the best night for you. But like looking back on it, I had so much fun, like a blast. But for myself, especially in like a lot of guys that go out in West Hollywood, like you're grabbed, groped, looked at, stared at, like people have literally like licked their hands and like white. And I'm like, guys, I don't want anyone touching me. Like I'll go through like crowds and any hand that like I feel a grab on, I will grab as hard as I can and like pretend to break your wrist, like I'm
Probably have broken people's wrists.
but it's a very much a double-edged sword where like
broke his jerk off hand.
but it's not only chicks, or it's not only guys though, it's chicks too. Like
And
a
that's
lot of
true.
people think they walk in there and it's a safe place for everyone to just do whatever they want. And to a certain regard, like, yes, you can basically do whatever you want in there. But at the same time, like, treat other people's boundaries with respect, you know, and like
Right.
understanding that.
And you wouldn't put up with that shit if you were making minimum wage.
Oh no.
You're like, okay, I'm making $3,000 tonight.
It's
worth it.
I'm gonna deal.
Right.
I've picked up more girls at the Abbey though than I have at any other regular bar.
I'm telling you,
throughout
as a
fucking
straight
Hollywood, too.
guy or as a guy that likes girls, you walk in there and a lot of these girls think like everyone here is gay. It's a safe place. And there are vultures in there that will literally come there just to pick up girls and then they leave.
Yeah.
I'm like, good for
I
you,
think we
man.
used to
Because
do that.
yeah.
Yeah, but it was just because they would come up to you. Mm-hmm.
As soon as they get like
Bro.
they smell like there's a straight guy right there.
Bro, I'll never forget. There was one time I was there with Brandon, and we walk in, and he's dancing around, we're like in hoodie and sweatpants, and he's like, "Yo, where are all the bitches at?" I'm like, "Bro, we are the bitches here." Like, what do you mean? Like, he's like, "I heard we pick up girls here." I'm like, "You just gotta wait; they'll come to you."
Right.
Just
You
chill."
gotta wait till they start getting
And
liquored
then-
up and a
oh
little.
yeah, but after like 4 guys hit on him, then some girl can be like, "Ah, I see now."
yeah.
Yeah. But also, girls are so used to getting hit on left and right whenever they go out. They go to the Abbey and they're like, why is no one hitting on me? Do I not look good? Like, what's happening? And then they get aggressive towards hitting on guys. Like,
Right.
It's a weird thing.
very turned around. Yeah. But that was also what gave me the mindset, gave me the mindset of like, when you go to a club and you see a bottle service girl in lingerie, all the guys that are hitting on her, she wants to murder. You know, she does not want to talk to you at all. And so that was my thing of like, I'm walking through a club with my shirt off and I don't want anyone to talk to me or touch me. And all these guys that are grabbing me thinking they're going to get my attention, it's like, I couldn't want you farther away from my person ever. Like, just leave, you know? And so when I go out now, I see the bottle service girl and I think like, okay, just don't talk to her. Just look at her if you want to.
Right. No, and you
know.
start like helping them like clean the
Yeah,
table,
yeah,
and they're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's when they're like, oh, who the fuck is this
Yeah.
guy? I like him.
When you're very nice to them too, because they're used to guys just like you said, just hitting on them aggressively.
Constantly,
So when
yeah.
you're just very kind and thank you so much, really appreciate, like anything like that, they're not
Goes a
used to
long way,
that.
yeah.
Right.
But like that, I mean, that's the service industry though. I think the best thing about people who work in service, when we go out to a bar, I'm tipping no matter what. I'll be
Tip
very
is the biggest
kind.
thing, yeah.
Like, but people who aren't in service and come, they're not aware of that.
They're big verbal tippers.
Yeah. And like, those compliments don't pay my bills, people.
Exactly.
Right. Like-
yeah. Well, and then now in West Hollywood, I have so many guys saying like, "Oh, let me buy you shoes, let me buy you underwear, let me buy you socks, you know, whatever it is, whatever they want to." And I'm thinking like, just tip me, you know, just give me an extra tip, you know. But a lot of people want I have one guy that still sends me shit. And I'm like, great, thanks. Like, I don't have to buy underwear this month, but like, he thinks we have a special connection because he sends me clothes. And I'm like, all right. But
so
like,
put the timeline together for people listening, and for me, and for I guess I don't know, but when did you stop working at the Abbey, and how is this still going?
well,
Is this still going on?
I really only stopped working at the Abbey because of the pandemic.
Oh, really? Okay.
And so last February, when things were getting like dicey and no one understood what was happening, management was like, yeah, we're just going to put out more hand sanitizers. And I was like, are people wearing masks? And they're like, no. And I was like, I'm out. Like, I don't feel comfortable. You know, I do physical therapy with an elderly guy, and like, I don't want him getting sick because of me. And so I was like, I'm out. I'll just collect unemployment, which I think a lot of people have moved to. I'd rather collect unemployment than work, which is kind of like what I was on for a while. And I'm like, I just got to get back in. Like, I don't care about the unemployment check. I'm ready to work. And so looking back at the Abbey now, though, they follow regulations and stuff like that, but it's not anywhere near, you know, the Abbey was a dance club. They'd fit 500 people on the dance floors, and like, they have multiple dance floors. You know, that's another club that like nobody else has stuff like that. And like, going
Just because
back
you want
to
to be safe doesn't mean that
no one else wants to. Yeah. You know,
mindset. They're still partying, having house parties, and
yeah.
doing shit.
Yeah. And the money just isn't the same, you know, like people going and sitting down at tables. The whole point of having bottle service is you see girls walking by, or you see somebody you think is attractive. Hey, come sit at our table, have a free bottle with us. You know, nobody's walking around, everybody's sitting at a table. So why would you get bottle service, you know? And so as the lead bottle server at the Abbey, I was like, I don't want to go back to serving tables. Like, I don't want to bring out people's chicken pot pie. I want to bring out, you know, a bottle of Dom and make people pay $1,000 for a little bit of alcohol. And that was my big thing of being like, I don't want to work in front of things anymore. I'm bar backing at the Victorian in Santa Monica now, and just, and I'll make bank without talking to a single customer, which sounds lovely to me.
That's sometimes one of the best gigs is the bar back.
Yeah, man.
You make more than the server or more than like
You make more than TSAs does, yeah.
You're right. A little less than the bartender, but the bartender has to put up with the people and talk to the people.
And you just bring all the booze up, and it's so much more chill. But I really think this pandemic has really nightlife is definitely. I feel like nightlife was kind of taking a bit of a dive. The festival world was really taking over as the party scene, especially the bottle service scene. Now that I've been in that for a while, I just don't see it coming back. Like in the capacity it used to be, like you said, like you were making so much money because there were so many people there. We were making so much money at the nightclub because we had a guy who would come in by himself. And they would pay us as TSAs, like, yo, go get me girls. And I'd run around the club and find the 10 hottest girls I could find. Hey, this guy wants to invite you to his table to have a drink. And then all of a sudden, that guy who came in by himself just spent $25,000 on Dom Rosé for these 10 girls that he never met before because he needed to feel cool.
And we'll never talk to again.
And like things like that won't happen.
Yeah.
At least for quite a long time now.
Yeah, I think the Abbey will come back and be as strong as it.
Oh, definitely.
I think the large majority of clubs that are open when things get back to normal are going to explode, just because so many people want to go out. So many people want to have that same life that they used to have. But I don't see it happening again for another year.
Yeah.
If the clubs can stay around, they will. But like, if not, right now, how many different restaurants have put thousands of dollars into being able to dine outside, and now it gets shut down just on a whim from our governor. And like, I understand wanting to be safe and like figuring out how to make it work, but if you're not giving funding to these clubs and the nightlife, then it's not going to be around when things get back to normal.
Yeah, it sucks because we were the first industry to take the hit and shut down, and we're going to be the last to come back.
Oh, for sure.
Especially in this country, because in London, in the UK, in June, they can start with nightclubs and festivals again. We're nowhere near that. And at least like in the UK, they gave out of their stimulus money or whatever they did with their government, they gave 500 mil to the nightlife and the festival communities. And our government just does not give a shit about any of us at all. And like, where everybody's struggling just to get by. I mean, how many of our friends have bars that they've had to close? How many of our favorite restaurants have had to close that have been staples in this city for so long that just aren't coming back? We're the only city that does not allow, in the entire country, that does not allow indoor dining now, too. So, like, it's weird.
That's why people, if you go out and you go to a restaurant, you do that outdoor dining, please, you got to tip. Over tip, man. Those people that's their livelihood, and they're still at work.
Yeah.
Risking their lives.
Mm-hmm. Because what other choice do we have?
Let's talk. Okay, so it's interesting because a lot of the people that we've had are out. They've gotten out of, the service industry, and you got out because you were forced out. I got out because I was forced out for obvious reasons. But what are your plans?
Slowly have been moving towards social media marketing, which I always roll my eyes because saying like I'm an influencer is like the worst thing in the world to have to say.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where the world is moving. There's not as many people watching TV anymore. Everybody's on a streaming service or a social media app. And to be 100% honest, I get the majority of my news from Instagram, And so through doing the reality shows and through doing movies and TV, I've worked with a management company that I really trust, and they message me probably 3 or 4 times a day. Hey, we have this company that wants to do this, and if the money's right, and I like the product, I'm doing that. Down the road, hoping for an e-commerce brand and being able to put out my own brand of certain things, but it's all about, like we were talking about before, like people go out to network, and like I took the ability at the Abbey to meet people that are in very good positions in their life. And I mean, I've gotten everything from, just connections in just every facet of my life, to clients that I work with for physical therapy or personal training, to getting interviews and auditions for movies and other TV shows, and so being able to work that aspect of my life has put me in positions that I can move forward in the rest of my life,
It's great that you have a plan for once you get
Yeah,
out
yeah.
permanently. And I know I'm with you with the influencer thing, because I mean, a girl could post 1,000 or a guy could post 1,000 pictures of themselves and
Yeah.
call themselves an influencer.
Yeah.
Like somebody called me an influencer today. I was like, I'm not. I post like once a week. Like I'm just, I need to get into it more for my brand. And
Sure.
it kind of sucks being an actor that you have to worry about social media. But for something that you're actually passionate about, you want to put your products out,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
actually are influencing something positive. So
Yeah.
that's good.
I think something that you touched on is something we'd love to touch on the show is the biggest thing that gets underlooked in this industry is the networking ability. And like you said, you were around some of the most famous. I mean, I remember being at the Abbey with you one time and Elton John was just chilling.
Yeah.
Like, so the fact that
Diet Coke.
we are one person removed. I'm sure you got a good story about that, which I can't wait to hear.
Yeah, we got to get into that.
But like we're at this point, we're all one person removed from the most famous, influential, and richest people on the planet.
Yeah, yeah.
And like most people don't take advantage of it, but like when you do, I mean, brother, me and Billy have talked about it. There are so many things. Our collective group of friends, right? Danny, you two, like you're part of the circle. We were all in nightlife. We all started to see, we can do something more as a group. And now it's just so amazing because our whole group of friends, we're all collectively feeding off of each other. Energy-wise, we're all bouncing ideas. We're all pushing each other. We're all helping each other build each other's brands. And just to think that originated from all of us working in a nightclub together and then all using our connects collectively as a group. And some amazing things are starting to unfold. And like we all talked about, man, like the next few years, just watch and see what all of us do, where Billy's going to be, where Danny's going to be, where I'm going to be, even where our producer Nick's going to be. Like there is so much cool shit we have in the works, but it all stems from this nightlife culture that we started in.
Oh yeah. I mean, it taught us to grind and network, like you said. And
Yeah.
it's such a great tool that people don't realize that while you're having fun and you're going through the bad and the good, you're actually learning for later in life.
Yeah.
I think also the learning is the big thing. Yeah. And you see these people that you might work a shift with or 3 years with, and you see why they don't succeed, and why they constantly complain about like, well, this isn't going on. And I'm like, it's because you're a dick, be a nice guy and you'll get it, or whatever it might be. I saw a server that I worked with kill himself. And it was because he was put down so many times from auditions or interviews or the ability to branch out or he wanted to be a screenwriter. And the money that he put together just wasn't enough for what he wanted to do. And he ended up shorting a lot of people on their money and ended up taking his life eventually because he was so against wanting to admit defeat and to say, like, I don't have what it takes. And like, you see a lot of people fail out here. And I think more than networking is picking up what other people are failing at and seeing like, okay, why didn't they get this? What can I do to succeed on certain things,
So many people don't learn from their failures. And that's the biggest thing. It's like we've all failed countless times, but fall down 9 times, get up 10. Like failure is a good thing. You may not have gotten what you wanted, but you've learned what you don't want and what's not serving you. So you're narrowing the gap there. And that's like you're saying, most people in the city, they get frustrated at their failures instead of taking a step back, analyzing it and being like, okay, this is what I did wrong. Let me try it again now this way.
Yeah. Yeah. LA being successful in LA is the long game. Yeah. You got to work on your long game because if you come out here and you think it's going to happen quick, I mean, even though it somewhat happened to you for Billy quickly, he's still working.
Yeah.
All right. Why did you move out here?
I moved out here because I wanted to act. I wanted to make movies.
Okay.
Same.
Yeah.
So I didn't want any of that. I thought acting was dumb. I thought modeling was like kind of an idea or like a dream maybe eventually. But I was laying in bed after Stevie asked me, hey, we need a roommate. Would you want to move out here? And of course I answered with like, yeah, dude, that'd be awesome. Of course. And then I'm thinking like, what all entails in moving out here? And I thought to myself, I don't want to wake up being in the same city I've grown for the rest of my life in, I looked at my brothers who are very successful in their own right. They have their own houses. They have their own lives. They have families that are growing now. And I thought, I don't want that, And I think it takes a very different type of person to have that mentality of like, I need to grow, And there are so many people out here that are just wanting to grow. They just want to change the way that their life is down a certain path or what it might be. But at the same time, a lot of people don't know how to grow in the way that they want, or don't have the chops to be able to grow in the way that they want. And so coming out here and being able to say, like, yes, I wanted to be an actor, and yes, I am an actor, and yes, I'm doing what I want to do is huge, but it's also something that doesn't happen for a lot of people.
Right.
You know? And so, you know, I think you see a lot of people fail because they're not exactly sure how to make it happen.
Would it be fair to say you have an old soul? Like, I feel like you're even when you were saying before you got out here, you kind of knew where you wanted to go in life. Like, as far as a person, not as like the achieving something successful, you know, just like when I came out here, all I saw was stardom.
Yep.
Of course.
Like I never said, I'm going to go out there and better myself as a person. I was like, I'm going to be fucking famous.
Yep.
Well, I think if anyone never said, like, I want to be famous, you know, I think you're an idiot if you don't want to at some point in your life. I'll never forget walking down Santa Monica Boulevard and hearing a guy on his cell phone. I'm just like walking, and he goes, "You'll never guess who I just walked by." And I was like, "Oh, this is cool, man." You know? And little did he know, I was going to a pole dancing class to try to learn how to be a pole dancer for Magic Mike.
I love those conversations. I was walking down Hollywood Boulevard, and my friend's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just walking down Hollywood Boulevard." He's like, "That's amazing." Guy shit in the corner. Fucking.
Everybody thinks Hollywood is so great until they get to Hollywood, and like, especially like the Chinese theater, people are like, "I must be amazing." I'm like, "Yo, it's so small. It's not that cool. It's a 2-block radius that's really shit. The stars are not that great. Like, it fits the facade of what LA is.
Yeah.
LA is this land of the stars, your name in shining lights, and it's like, nah, man, that's that's 1% of people.
Yeah.
Less than 98% of SAG makes over $10,000 a year.
Really?
And there's over like 2 million people in SAG.
Yeah, it's like less than 2% actually celebrities or something that make it to that upper echelon.
And like you said, it's the long game, because in reality, when we've all been here, it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. Like the success happens quickly, but the build to get to that point is just, and then when it happens fast, but people don't see all the shit we have to get to that level of success that's looked at as the facade and the stardom point. It's a whole different means, but 10 years to come an overnight success. Most people don't want to wait 10 years. They want it, like you said, in the first 6 months.
Right.
And that's not realistic.
And then there's like that small percentage of people that you hear about that decided not to get into the money making, like the quick, like we did.
Yeah.
And they just slept on a mattress in like a fucking bachelor apartment. Like those like true artists, they're like, I'm not fucking working. I'm all about my craft. Like I commend those people because it's hard to do that in LA. Like I heard Kevin Bacon, he was one of those actors that he had like a mattress on a floor in a room, and that's what he had, and he had his like focus was so razor sharp, and he said he would still get laid on the little mattress.
Of course he would.
Yeah, it's Kevin
Bacon.
Kevin Bacon. Love you, man. If you listen.
What is it? The 4 degrees of separation of Kevin Bacon?
Yeah.
I love that fucking
One of your
TikTok.
friends is going to send it to their friends. Hey, send this to Kevin.
Right.
This seems like a nice place to take a break.
Well, Billy, what tips would you have for somebody that's especially either in the gay clubs or somebody looking to move out here, or just a tip you'd have in the whole nightlife sense of just keeping that mental calm and being able to get through those nights with everybody groping you and touching you and you not wanting to kill somebody?
I mean, there were many nights where I was like, I'm going to murder someone tonight. But, you know, you got to surround yourself with people. And like, I had one manager that nobody else trusted, nobody else thought was like reliant. And I would be like, hey, dude, I need to talk. You know, and he'd be like, yeah, sure, come on. And we'd go out back and he'd have like a bottle of water or like a Red Bull or something, you know, and like just stepping out and being able to take 10 minutes of breathing and just talking about the shit that's going on and just having someone to trust. You know, it might be another server, it might be a bartender, just being able to vent and actually like expunge that. And that's the one thing that's really nice about being in West Hollywood is nobody really thinks about like toxic masculinity. And so everybody has the ability to just vent and just get that shit off your chest so you don't pent it up and like put it out on anybody else. And I'd be able to just pull him aside and be like, yo, can I talk? You know, and being able to get that off your chest, like you don't put it onto anybody else. You're not worried about it throughout the rest of the night. And like, I mean, there were many nights where I was like, get the fuck out of my face. I'm going to murder all of you, you know, like, and you get that off. And then once you're done with it, like you're good to go, you know. More often than not though, I think, a lot of people like suppress that and they're like, oh, I can't seem like I'm getting worked up over a table, you know, like why not? You know, everybody's an asshole. And like, if you got an asshole at your table, like, you know, deal with it, handle it. So I don't know, get it off your chest. That's my tip. Don't suppress that. Yeah.
Be honest with yourself, I guess. And you can't hold in those emotions, man. Cause like the story you told about the guy who killed himself.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
I mean, he must have been suffering. So, I mean, obviously you're suffering badly to do that. And he probably just didn't know how to
handle it,
how to let those emotions out and reach out to someone and tell them, hey, I need help. So if you're listening, you need help, please reach out to somebody you're close to, reach out to somebody. If you know us, please reach out.
A Minds Pursuit Foundation. I got you.
So on that heavy note, let's go into some funny stories.
Yeah. This is our favorite way to wrap with people because we all got some crazy stories on things that have happened. And I'm sure in the Abbey and just some of the things you've been around, I know you got some really good ones.
My favorite situation. So, I mean, we see 5,000 people come through in a night, you know, in a couple hours. The line goes all the way down the street, you know, sometimes it curves around Pump, you know, like it's insane. So the club gets packed, you know, the line for the one bathroom that we have goes on for 40 minutes sometimes, you know. I'm working these tables and sometimes I don't have a big client, you know, so I'll just work 3 or 4 tables, boom, 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 you know, handle it. There was one night we had a bachelorette party. Bachelorettes always love to come into the Abbey because they feel like they're safe and they can just party, you know, whatever, roll, whatever the fuck you want to do. I don't know.
What's rolling?
Table of like, what is rolling? Table of like 12, 15 girls. They're all in dresses. They're all done up. You know, they have their crowns and their sashes and all this shit. Yeah, penis straws. Good old penis straws. It's probably 1:15. The line for the bathroom has to be at least an hour, especially for the girls. There were only like 3 stalls for the girls, and so it's pretty heavily regulated. We keep like 3 security guards there to move people along and everything. And one of my tables, this bachelorette party, that girl goes, "Can you walk us to the bathroom?" And I'm thinking like, yes, I could. I could skip the entire line with 3 girls and just be like, go on, you know. And I go, no. And she was like, please, like, we really need to go. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't, you know, like I could have, whatever. She goes, fine, fuck it. Pulls the champagne bottle off the table, dumps all the ice out and sticks it up her dress, moves her panties to the side and just pees right there at the table. And like there, it's not a big deal. And I was just like, wait, whatever. What? Listen, so I start, because there's so many people moving around that like, nobody at the table really thought anything of it. They're like, you know, we're here in this gay bar. It's a safe space. Sure enough, security guard walks up and goes, you can't do that. Drags the woman out. All her friends get pissed off because, you know, and I told the woman that was paying, I go, she was peeing in a bucket at the table. She goes, yeah, okay.
That's Mindy, all right.
Yeah. And so sure enough, they signed the check. They left like a couple $100 as a tip and they left. And we got to resell the table, and we double booked it for the night.
Yo, that's so funny.
That's gross. At the same
So
time.
gross, yeah.
It's
and
so
then
funny.
someone probably used that as an ice bucket later on. And like,
It's so funny, man. Like females, I love you, but we've seen you do some nasty shit in the club.
Oh my god, it's gross.
I was at Greystone one night, and we need all the TSAs by table 3, like that little lounge area on the side.
Yeah.
And we go over there, and there's a big pile of shit on the carpet. And you know, the porter comes over and he's putting all that powder and all that stuff on there. Yeah. And then later on, we're looking at the security cameras and we're watching this girl. She comes up, she walks up by the table and she's looking around and like, what the fuck is she doing? And she squats, lifts her dress, and you just see and just falls, and she just walks off into the dance area, onto the dance floor, and we're like, she just fucking do that? Like, come on,
bro.
Come on. And then the best part is she shits, and then this guy walks by, steps on it.
No!
Like literally, it was tracked like through I mean,
And then the best is all the girls who like will finish the night and walk through and take off their heels and just in barefoot probably track through that. Like,
but imagine also like all the glass, all the
It's just
everything that's on the ground.
disgusting.
Yeah, and girls are just like, well, I can't be in my heels anymore. And I'm thinking like, don't wear heels out if you can't handle it. Wear some Doc Martens. Wear some boots. Dudes love watching chicks.
Especially in LA though, you can wear whatever you want. Like I love a girl in a good pair of kicks.
Yeah.
It's very
But
very attractive
let's be
to me.
honest. Also, if a girl's in Jordans and she walks through some shit,
it's gonna be a problem.
That's gonna be
she's gonna fuck somebody.
honestly
up right
maybe
there.
a bigger issue than if she's barefoot.
That's
Let's be
true.
honest.
yes.
Billy, you got any good celebrity stories from the Abbey? Or a favorite there? Or no, not really.
I worked Lance Bass's bachelor party, and most of NSYNC was there. And so I have pictures of me shirtless with the large majority of NSYNC, which is pretty cool. I don't know, nothing like.
I mean, there's a lot of people that would probably scream for that. So
Oh, for sure.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I'm a huge fan.
Yeah,
I took shots with Justin
dudes.
Timberlake, and it was like the best night of my life.
he was not there, unfortunately. I don't think he would want to really be hanging out in the Abbey.
I got to hang out with him and Jessica Biel one night when they came into Blind, and I was serving them. They were so cool.
Yeah.
He was like just like I would love to be like Timberlake, man. Like he's just such a cool dude. He's accepted by everybody. I mean, now he just put out the whole thing for Britney Spears because I'm sure his publicist was like, "You need to do this."
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense, but. Like, we're so lucky that, some of these celebrities are shitty, but, like, some are so cool and so kind and have tipped us so well
Yeah.
in the past. Like,
And some have not.
some have not. Like,
also very
bro,
true.
I remember this one night we were working at Greystone and Johnny Depp left us, like, a $10,000 tip.
Damn.
And he literally only bought, like, he tipped us more than his bill was.
That's sick.
By, like, double the amount. Like, he bought a bottle of 42 and a bottle of wine. It was, like, a $3,000 tab, but he tipped us, like, 10 grand.
Let's be honest, like for certain people, tipping double what you're actually paying is one thing, if you're getting like a sandwich,
Yeah.
very different world than when you're talking about like a bottle that costs $3,000-$4,000,
Yeah.
When the retail price is $32.
Yeah.
Kind of wild.
Very different world.
So, Bill, for everybody out there who's watching, I'm sure people are going to follow you to hear more, especially if you need some workout tips and things along those lines. Where can people find you?
My Instagram and Twitter is Bill Reilich. That's Reilich. If you're checking it out, yeah.
Go follow him, people. He's got good stuff.
Yeah.
And on that note, Bill, thanks for being on and being open and honest. It was great having you.
Yes, thank you so much, Billy.
Thank you,
I'm
guys.
looking forward to having you back when everything gets going again, and we'll see what you're up to, man.
Love it.
Appreciate you guys. All right, guys. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Chaos Control, hosted by Mikey Tableman and Danny J. Gomez, producer and audio engineer Nick Dewar. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review on the Apple Podcasts app or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Join us next week for more chaos.